Hello, everyone. My name is John McKay. I'm the Member of Parliament for Scarborough-Guildwood, and we are at the end of Eid. And I thought that it would be useful and important to my constituents in Scarborough-Guildwood, particularly the Muslim constituents, but also those who are not Muslim, to talk about the end of Eid. And I have as my guest Muhammad Iqbal Ali, who is the Vice President and Secretary of the Muslim Welfare Center up on McLevin, just outside of the riding, but we're not going to hold that against him. Yeah, I think by the time we have another Eid, we should be moving the Muslim Welfare Center into the riding, and that way it'll be really, really important. So, anyways, I have Muhammad with me, and we've known each other for a few years. We've met not only at the Scarborough Center, the Scarborough Muslim Welfare Center, but also in Ottawa, where MPs and senators, under the sponsorship, I suppose, of my friend Omar Al-Gabra and others who pack boxes in order to be able to distribute these boxes during the at the end of the Eid festival. Anyway, Muhammad,
Yes.
as I say, we've known each other for a few years. I know that you are from Pakistan. When we, yeah, I'm not going to ask you when you were born, but where were you born in Pakistan?
I was born in Lahore, in Pakistan.
Yeah.
It's in Punjab.
In the Punjab, okay.
Yeah.
And were you educated there?
I was educated all over Pakistan because my father was in the military, and so we would go 2 years in one cantonment and two in another. So maybe 10 or 12 different schools before I finished my high school. So many schools.
Really?
Exactly, all over Pakistan.
That's a lot of bouncing around.
And we used to love it at that age because you
Yeah.
then start to wait for new friends every end of every 2-3 years. You have to do it all over again, make new friends in a new place. And so, but engineering I completed in the University of Engineering and Technology in Lahore, and that was chemical engineering.
Nuclear engineering.
It was
Okay, so you
chemical
must be pretty
engineering.
good with math and physics then.
Okay. Yeah, you have to be.
In order to be able to graduate in nuclear engineering, you have to be better than okay in math and
I would say there are many engineers much better in physics and math than I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically it is chemical engineering, and then the nuclear used to be an option. So that's my degree is in chemical engineering.
And did you work in Pakistan as an engineer?
I did about 11 years in Karachi Nuclear Power Plant as a licensed shift supervisor. So I was operating the CANDU reactor. That was our first reactor and was.
Oh, really? It was a Canadian reactor.
It was a Canadian reactor. So.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Exactly.
Really. And you know, it sounds like a pretty good job to me to be able to operate in a nuclear reactor. Why would you leave a good job like that to come to Canada?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I wanted to. But I wanted to actually study some more. I had a basic bachelor's degree. From there, I said, okay, let me go do a master's and a PhD from somewhere abroad. And of course, I got an admission in U of T in Toronto, of course, in chemical engineering again, and was able to complete my master's in applied science degree from there. I was well on my way to completing a PhD, but then I had this reasonably good job at Ontario Hydro at that time. That was like around 1991 when I joined Ontario Hydro, and as a design engineer, and then so gradually I abandoned my PhD,
Oh,
But
really?
it's,
Ah.
it's a been
So
with,
do you regret at this stage that you abandoned your PhD?
of course. I mean,
Yeah, really?
that I was so near finishing
Yeah.
when I
So
said that.
why don't you go back and complete it?
I think yeah, my wife's been saying that for a while, but now she has also abandoned me in that sense.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
Yeah,
So when actually did you come to Canada?
88, October 88,
88.
19.
Okay, so you've been here quite a while. When did you get your citizenship?
So 1990, I would say 1997 or something.
Oh,
I took
so you
quite,
got your citizenship the year I became an MP. Well, that
yeah,
was very nice of you to do that. I appreciate that. Yeah.
because I always
So,
had the intention of going back to Pakistan.
yeah.
And so I was on a student visa, although already working at Ontario Hydro, I still was on visit on work visa. And then
Mm.
the immigration officer, whenever we went every year to renew our work visa, mine and my wife's, the immigration officer would suggest, why are you spending $100 each to renew your visa? Why don't you apply for immigration?
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Hmm.
uh, but then, of
Well,
course,
now you are well and truly Canadianized. I
I,
assume your children are here.
yeah,
And
I have the one daughter, just the
yeah.
one. She's now in her final year of law, trying to complete law. She'll be
Oh,
hopefully.
that's too bad. That's a family failure. Is that right? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I guess you're a lawyer by profession as
I'm a lawyer. That's right. Yes, my father was equally disappointed in me when I went to law school.
well.
Yeah.
No, you did good,
Uh,
John.
yeah. Well, I don't know about doing good, but what we're conducting this interview not only to find out about the fascinating background of Muhammad Ali, Iqbal Ali. I didn't know all those things about you, but I find them quite fascinating. I think that the story of how people come to Canada is generally speaking quite a fascinating story. It takes a lot of courage to leave what you know and it's even more courageous when you're leaving something that is relatively secure for you and your family. So obviously you did come, and you have joined up with the Muslim Welfare Center, and um, and this is at the end of Eid. So um, interestingly, this is where, if you will, the three Abrahamic faiths come together, and it's generally known as the Festival of Sacrifice. So tell me the Muslim side of that story. Why is it called the Festival of Sacrifice?
Yes, as you rightly said, I mean, it goes back all the way to Prophet Abraham, or we call Ibrahim.
Hmm.
And him, his act of trying to fulfill his promise to God, to Allah, to sacrifice his son Ismail or Ishmael, um, that God had asked him as a test to do, and of course, the son uh, was fully aware and ready to be sacrificed. He said, if it's from God, then I'm ready to be sacrificed. Don't worry. And then, of course, at the end, it turned out that instead of sacrificing his own son, it turned out to be a sheep that was sacrificed on that occasion. And so that marks really I would say, a very significant point in the history of our three religions. Like the person, a father, and a child who had been born after maybe when he was in the 80s when Abraham was in his 80s.
Yeah.
He got Ismail and he got Isaac or Ishaq much later in his life, him and his wife.
Well,
It,
that is even the more interesting part of the story in some respects because Abraham and Sarah had real difficulties having children, and Ishmael was the product of a relationship between Ibrahim and Hagar, the slave of Sarah, and it was, as if you will, a birth out of extreme frustration and not being able to have children.
Well, I'm not very familiar or very clear on that history, so I won't try to speak about the details. But you're right. One of the sons was from Sarah, and the one from Hagar.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's where, if you will, all of the religious groups are the Abrahamic faiths all come together and recognize that this was a tremendous act of loyalty and obedience on the part of Ibrahim, and from that flows the, if you will, the creation of the Islamic religion.
Of course, you're right. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was from that lineage. And of course, we believe that Prophet Muhammad is the final prophet in the chain of prophets, hundreds and thousands of them. And Abraham or Ibrahim was one of the very significant prophets whose history is a big part of record in the Quran, in our holy book. And even this act of Hajj is an Abrahamic tradition. It was Abraham who brought his child and his wife to Arabia, to the present Mecca, and left them, and that too at the command of God, Allah, to leave them there in that desert. And it was then that the whole, I would say, that area of Medina started to prosper or develop or to grow. Before then, it was totally desert.
Right, right.
So Abraham built the first house of God, or what we name or call Kaaba, and that's the place we go to for Hajj. We go to, yeah. So
I didn't know that. That is very interesting. I didn't realize that. But that original demonstration of obedience and sacrifice has motivated the Islamic faith for literally thousands of years, and it expresses itself in a variety of ways. Not only with family celebrations, but also in the Muslim Welfare Center, because it is a clear demonstration of giving to others sacrificially. So tell me a little bit about the Muslim Welfare Center and what it does, and how it expresses the deep traditions of Islam.
Sure. So just before that, I hope I mentioned Mecca and not Medina. So Mecca is where the Kaaba is, and where we go for Hajj.
Yes. Yeah, you did correct. You are correcting yourself. Yes.
Am I good? Good. I was thinking, did I say Medina for some reason? Medina is where the Prophet Muhammad established the Islamic government or the Islamic state. Mecca is where, of course, he was born or close to, and where he started preaching. And that's where the Hajj happens. So Muslim Welfare Center, yes, Muslim Welfare Center, I'm sure you may be aware about the history, was started by two seniors, by a retired army officer, Major Abbas. He was 72 in 1973 when he founded the organization along with his wife, Sarwar Jahan Begum. She was in her mid-60s, so 65 or 66. There were two seniors just visiting here, and they saw...
You are frozen.
Am I? Am I
Yeah.
am I okay
You're
now?
back on. You're back on now.
Okay, so sorry, I don't know if it's the internet here. So yeah,
All
so
right.
it was the retired army officer from Pakistan, Major Muhammad Abbas Ali. He was visiting here with his wife, and he loved traveling, mainly by road. And of course by air as well. But he loved traveling, taking long road trips or walks and all for charity. That was after he had retired from the Pakistan Army. Visiting here, saw poverty, said, no, we must do something to try and address poverty here, even in this rich country of Canada. And so he started with a very small food bank, about 10 feet by 10 feet room in the very building we are now in.
Oh,
And
really? Oh, so that's actually the origins of the Muslim Welfare Center itself. Hmm.
yeah, so in the
It's,
upstairs,
it's, a, it's a lot bigger than 10 feet by 10 feet now.
exactly. And he had to borrow money to do that,
Yeah.
$14,000 from a friend to start a charity, just to show that there is need even in Canada, in Toronto. There are poor people and who need to be helped. And number two, that Islam teaches us to help anyone and everyone, irrespective of faith or color or nationality. And that's why he chose the slogan, service to humanity is service to Allah or service to God,
Yeah.
not service to Muslims only. And that's how it has been for the last 27 years. We cater to everyone and anyone in need. And of
You
course,
you truly practice what you preach,
we try
and
to.
I think that's yeah, and I think that's an honorable consequence is that you do practice what you preach, and it's a direct connection between the faith tradition and the expression of the faith tradition.
Definitely, we try to do that all the time, and so far we have been successful. We have made and had so many good friends on the way, and it's the support from the people that has sustained the charity for so long. It's not no. Major Abbas or the founders didn't have any money. There's no one
Yeah.
really very rich trying to run the charity. It's the people. It's a
Now,
grassroots charity.
before we move on to sort of to kind of concluding our conversation here, I wanted to ask you, how has COVID changed your operations, if you will?
So, as a charity, COVID sort of forced us to realign our programs. We could not and did not want to scale back our services, trying to isolate ourselves. We never did want to do that because of COVID-19, and we all know the need has grown significantly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we could never even think of scaling back. So on the other hand, we had to scale up, but then we had to modify all our services to now practice the social distancing, the requirements for cleanliness, and reducing contact, protecting our workers first, our volunteers, and then of course our beneficiaries. We have,
Hmm.
yeah. So every day through our food banks, we cater to close to 150, 170 families that take food from our
And
shelter.
and how is and how is that different than pre-COVID? Is that the same number? Is it greater number? Is it lower number?
The numbers initially went down
Hmm.
because of the people being forced to stay at home. But then, as food began to run out with these families who didn't have the sufficient means, the numbers increased. So where we are now post-COVID is the same numbers or slightly more compared to where we were before COVID. But then food bank is
And,
just one of
so,
our
sorry, and as you have your donations been able to keep up?
the donations. I'll say we are blessed. The donations did go up. People did realize that there was a big need. Now the need was bigger than before. But this is only a food bank. We do there are close to other 25 other projects that we do, including the shelter that we run in the Durham region. The shelter for women and children is called the Muslim Welfare Home, is the largest emergency shelter for women and children in the Durham region. And shelter is a place, it has a capacity of 45, it's full to capacity most of the time. But then practicing distancing and trying to protect our guests and our staff from COVID, for example, COVID-19, has been a real challenge. We have faced severe challenges during these past 4 months with all of our services. Our, soup kitchens have had to be modified. We take food now to the, or we no longer have sit-in lunches that we used to have. We now box the food and distribute. Similarly, our seniors' meals on wheel service has grown significantly because seniors especially have been
can't get out. Yeah,
exactly, have been really hard hit. So we deliver food now to about close to 1,000 meals every week to seniors in various parts of Toronto and Mississauga. Even our food
and your volunteers, and have the volunteers been able to adjust as well, or are you down on volunteers or up on volunteers?
Volunteers, they're eager to come and work. For the last 3 months, ever since COVID started, we get so many calls from our volunteers and those who want to come and help us. But we are forced to not allow beyond a certain number each day to keep the distancing and to protect them as well as our staff. So volunteers we have not had a shortage of. We are really blessed in that respect. Before COVID, on each event, for example, the Project Ramadan, we would get over 200 volunteers come and pack food for distribution. So that has not happened since this COVID issue started. We only use 10 or not more than 10 volunteers at a time in our warehouses here and as well as in Mississauga.
Yeah. So, well, we're going to have to leave it there because, well, we are under the tyranny of time, shall we say. And my guest has been Muhammad Iqbal Ali from the Muslim Welfare Center. One of the benefits of doing these interviews is that you find out about things that are going on in Scarborough that you had no idea about. And even though I've been to your center and participated in your food packing in Ottawa, the full nature and extent of the operation is, I think, is something of tremendous interest to the people in Scarborough. And I also think it's very interesting to me to root the traditions of sacrifice and giving in the faith. And it is a practical outworking of, it's a practical faith expression, which I think is admirable and to be recommended to those who are of the same faith, those who are of a different faith, and those who have no faith at all. I recommend the Muslim Welfare Center to everyone. So, Muhammad, friend, thank you for speaking with us. It was a interesting conversation. I will now remember that you are a nuclear engineer that came to Canada and never did finish his PhD, and he still wishes he had done that. So, again, so with that, thank you, Mohammed and Eid al-Adar for everyone. I guess in a way.
John, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Just give me half a minute, just to say that we have. I would encourage people to go on our website and see what else we do.
Good thing.
We run free clinics, and there are other programs that we do. School nutrition program. There are a number of programs that we do here, and the one coming up now in August is our Fill the Backpack programs, where we pack about 5,000-6,000.
Oh, right, that's a good one too. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
To the needy all over, and we have a couple of food banks in the Arctic Circle as well. That's our program to help the First Nations in Canada. Yeah. So there are a number of things that we do, and thanks to our donors, thanks to our beneficiaries, thanks to friends like you that have helped us continue our services and spread the word about our services. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, and I particularly enjoyed the conversation about your personal background. I find that the trips, the passage from one country to another is actually one of the most interesting parts of these kinds of interviews. Anyway, with that, thank you again, and happy Eid to everyone.
Thank you very much. Eid Mubarak.
It's 10:30.